Hey everyone, Sean O'Connor here from Macabre Daily, and I have none other than the master of disaster himself, Erik Hanson, who, in my opinion, has the best horror movie related
Bro.
podcast. And that's coming from a guy who used to have one and is also about to start doing one. And you have the
Bro,
best.
I'll Venmo you that 20 bucks for that.
It's 40 now.
Oh, it's 40. Oh, shit.
Every, the price of everything's going up, including my bribery.
Well, that's super cool of you to say, man. Thank you for that.
It's true. It's true. And I think the magic to your I look, and of course, I'll shut up in a second, which no one's expecting, but I promise I will. I just want to say I think the magic to your formula, and I think it's completely organic. I don't even think that it was premeditated, is that you're such a likable person and a fun person that you people immediately let their guard down because
Mm,
even if someone met you a minute ago, you feel like you're talking to an old friend and you feel like you can just have fun with it.
hmm.
You can't teach that. That's an innate ability. So that's my highest compliment to you, my friend, is that you
Oh,
can bring
dude,
that out in people.
yeah, that means a lot, man. Coming from you, because I discovered you through your old podcast, Sinful Cuts. I mean, I was a big fan of you and Shannon. I know Shannon's still out there doing it. I know you
Good
had to
work.
step away, but yeah, man, thank you so much. That really means a lot coming from you.
The whole purpose of getting you on Macabre Daily's YouTube and writing an article about Cradle to the Grave is because I've held on to you now for easily over a year, and I've told like that cool vinyl that you used to have back in the day because you and I are of a certain age, and you
Yeah.
just kind of like slide it over to your friends, and you'd be like, "Shh, no, this is for us."
Mm-hmm.
I've done that with Cradle to the Grave for a year, and I've let people know, hey, look, you got to listen to this, you got to listen to this. But it's time to actually share the wealth and let everybody know so they can enjoy it just like I do.
Well, dude, I mean, I know we talked a couple weeks back, and I'd mentioned to you, like I'm really bad at promotion.
Oh, you're
I,
horrible.
s- I suck at it, dude. I mean, the only way you can find Cradle to the Grave is word of mouth. It's or like, hey, if your friend listens to it, like I'm only on Instagram, right? So, I post a lot on Instagram,
You
like
do.
shows that are coming up, guests that I'm having coming on. So if you follow me on Instagram, dude, all right, you're ahead of the game. But if you're not on Instagram, what the fuck is Cradle to the Grave? What? What? You're never
And it,
gonna hear about it.
and it's the best party out there. It really is. And I mean that sincerely because it is a party atmosphere. You have, to the best of my knowledge, you have actors, directors, producers, authors, screenwriters, musicians, comic book writers, comic book artists. I mean,
Oh man.
it's like lions, tigers, bears, oh my, dude.
No, seriously, man. Like, so let me give a little history of Cradle to the Grave, Sean.
Please.
Okay, let me let's start from the beginning. Can you have like the wavy go back in time music back when Eric was 50 years old and not 53 years old? Such a long time ago.
Eons ago.
Well, of course I'm a lifelong fan of horror and I listen to horror podcasts. There's tons of horror podcasts out there. And I never once ever thought about starting a podcast. Until the pandemic hit and I had to stop playing. I was playing in a band and that all ended. Pandemic, just everything shut down, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? There's nothing to do anymore. So during that time, I wrote a novel. And
Death
then,
Machine.
yeah. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. And I was like, well, what can I do that's different? Of course, it's going to be horror related because, I love horror movies.
Mhm.
So, how can I change it up a little bit? Because there's so many out there and make it a little special. So, my idea was, I'll start from the year I was born, 1971. And I'm going to take 10 movies, roughly 10 movies, sometimes 12, depends, from that year, and then have 10 guests pick a movie, come on to my show and talk with me about it. And each chat is about 20, 30 minutes, not very long chats, but I chain them all together, to a huge episode with 5 different guests and 5 different movies to talk about. And that started 2.5 years ago with the year 1971. And each month, or, I make my way through 1972, 1973. Right now, I am on the year 1996. So I've been doing this for a while. And I've had hundreds and hundreds of guests come on. I mean, like, it is really, I'm sort of impressed that I actually have time to do this and have the people I've gotten to come on. Sometimes I'm like, wow, like I can't believe they said yes. So it's been really cool to chat with the director of Star Trek Through Wrath of Khan,
Right.
Nicholas Meyer. Yeah, cool dude. Which we talked about his movie the day after, not Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, although I did mention it during our chat. And I've had, actors. I had C.J. Graham, who played Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, Part 6. Yeah, so,
So cool.
and I've had best-selling authors. It's been really awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I make time to do this, because it is a time suck, Sean O'Connor. This podcast takes up a lot of time,
I know.
right?
I know.
I
And
work
you're
a
an
day
author,
job.
man. And you're an author,
I
too.
Yeah, so I got a lot of stuff going on in my life, but I do make time for Cradle to the Grave because it is a labor of love. I love horror movies. I love the horror genre, and I love chatting with other people who do love the horror genre. And it's just, like you said, like when I have guests come on, I really want our conversation to be like two people sitting down at a coffee shop, just bullshitting about movies, man. I am not a professional podcaster. This show is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. You know what? I'm going to try this month, or you know what? I'm going to do something different. But the bottom line is, like you said, like I want everybody to feel welcome, and I want to create a rapport with all my guests, find something that we both have in common, besides horror, and just make everybody feel comfortable. Just come and hang out with me, man.
Good
It's fucking top. And sometimes, well, you've come on a lot, Sean. You've been one of my favorite guests come on. And I mentioned to you last time you were on, the reason why you're one of my favorite guests is because we don't even have to talk about the movie that
A lot of the times we don't.
We'll spend 20 minutes just shooting the shit about whatever's going on in our life. And it's super fun and it's relaxed. And eventually we'll get to the movie. To me, those are the best kind of chats where it's just really super relaxed. I mentioned to you, yeah, I've had rock stars come on, big name musicians, big name authors, and those are great, and they're always really cool people. But there's a certain level of like nervousness that I have where, okay, I got to be professional. I can't be jokester Eric, right? With these, but
You
with
want
people
to so badly.
I do, and some people that have come back repeatedly, I do become, a little more loose in my podcasting. But just having friends come on, I've had my friend Chip Conrad, who played in the band with me. Those are some of the most craziest, like off the rails chats I've ever had is with Chip, and they're a blast. And hopefully, people are having a blast listening to them. Maybe not, I don't know, but I'm having a good time.
Well, all right. I hope no one's ever said this. I hope I'm the first one. You are the Mark Maron of horror. You really are.
Oh, really? Well, dude. All right, I'll take it.
You are well, I really hope I'm the first one who said that. You are. You're the Mark Maron of
You
horror
are.
because,
Well,
and I'll
wow.
prove it. Because I steal from you, just shamelessly. I have met incredible people like Mark Gottlieb and Amber Kloss.
Yeah.
You turned me on to Stephen Bissett. You're the one who really pointed me in the direction of Clay Chapman and Nat Cassidy and Erin Hughes and Sadie Hartman and all these incredible people, because I went back and when I discovered you, I went back into your catalog and just started listening from year one. And thankfully we have a lot of years left. So I know what's the end date? 2030?
Well, that the end date is actually kind of extended because, as I said, Cradle to the Grave is a constant evolving podcast, right? So the format I had in the beginning, which was take 5 chats and I edit them into one big 2 hour episode, right? So it kind of knocks out a lot of these movies quickly.
Yeah.
That has changed to now I'm just doing one movie with one guest at a time and I put out weekly episodes.
Mhm.
So it has extended the timeline of when Cradle to the Grave will end because it's in the title of the podcast, Cradle 1971 to the Grave, when I die or when I reach modern times, right? So I did some calculation. It was roughly around, October 2027 is when I'll reach modern time. I won't have any movies to talk about unless I just decide to talk about new horror movies that come out, which I have some ideas kind of brewing. Like maybe I'll continue doing the podcast in a different form with a different name, with a
Dude, you're
different
not going
logo.
anywhere.
But we'll see what happens. That is definitely a few years off because, like I said, right now I'm in 1996. I still got all 2000s to go through, the 2010s and then the 2020s. So tons more episodes.
The only way I let you off the hook, and actually I won't even let you off the hook if this happens, but I know it's going to happen. When Wake of the Mariner comes out and then you become a big shot novelist who doesn't have time for the little people anymore.
Oh yeah.
You better
I hope.
the podcast. All right, dude, we got to go even further back in the Wayback Machine. You got to
do
let
it.
the viewers know what got you into horror.
Oh, for sure, dude. So yeah, born in 1971. One of my earliest, fondest memories is as a young kid in the 70s, probably before I was 10, was watching Saturday morning creature features,
Oh yeah.
most specifically Christopher Lee Dracula movies. They would scare the ever living shit out of me. For some reason, I liked being scared at that age. And I'm not sure why I liked being scared. I'm still trying to figure this out, Sean. And that's kind of another aspect of the podcast that I enjoy is that it's almost therapeutic for me. It's therapy. I have people come on like, why do we like this shit? Why do we like horror?
No, I don't know.
And one of the main answers I get is it's just fun. We're having a good time. It's like riding a roller coaster. But as a young kid, I would wake up Saturday and I'd watch these Christopher Lee movies, knowing that later that night, in bed, Christopher Lee would be at my bedroom window wanting in, right? I knew he was out there, right? And I'd have the covers up over my neck, truly scared, as kids are, because that shit's real, dude. So that thrill, because when I woke up in the morning, of course I woke up in the morning, I wasn't dead. I wasn't bitten by Christopher Lee. I woke up in the morning and have a bowl of Captain Crunch and I'd fucking watch more horror movies and just repeat that cycle.
No, wait. Were you the kid that also got like the monster books and the monster movie and famous
Everything,
Monsters of
dude,
Filmland?
everything.
Yeah, just whoa, just
That was famous monsters of Filmland. I didn't really. That was a little. I'm not that old, Sean.
Me?
Okay.
all right. Wait, shit. Neither am I.
No, it was
Like
Fangoria.
Fangoria and Starlog. I remember.
Fangoria was my Bible. This was, of course, before the internets and whatnot. So I would get the Fangorias and also video stores.
Yeah.
That was my sanctuary. That was where I went to worship, right? Was at the video store, the mom and pop, before Blockbusters, before Hollywood Video.
It was so
We had Imler's Video, which was an electronics store with the video section way in the back, right? With like 2 walls of videos. And I would, my mom, and God bless my mom, she's also one of the main reasons why I'm a big genre fan. She loved these movies too, right? She's a big movie fan. And so we would go rent videos together and she's like, okay, Eric, pick something, And of course, I'd bring up Dawn of the Dead. Like, what about this one, Mom? Or I would bring up The Howling. And she'd look at the cover, like, oh, all right. But she'd watch them and monitor these movies, right? So I remember one of my, times we went to Imler's Video and I rented The Howling. And I was like, I want to say this was in 1981, 82. It was because Howling came out in 81, so it was probably 82. And I was 11 years old. And I was so scared to watch The Howling, Sean. Like, I remember the drive home. It was like I was going to my execution or something.
You punished yourself.
I can't, I can't do it. I can't do it. We get home and put in The Howling, and I loved the hell out of it. But my mom was there next to me with her finger on the fast forward button, making sure I didn't watch that werewolves have sex.
Have sex?
So that got fast forward. But so it was movies like The Howling and most specifically Dawn of the Dead that really from 1978 that made me just go down the horror path and never look back.
All right.
It was, my parents were like, "Oh, Eric's young. This is a phase. He'll grow out of it." I have never grown out of it. I am still a fan of this shit. My parents have since accepted it. There was a time during the 80s when my mom pulled back a little bit. So there was this thing called the Satanic Panic in the 80s,
yeah.
Sean. Do you remember the Satanic Panic? I grew up smack dab in the Satanic Panic. And my mom, and we went to a church. We were a religious household. We weren't like too strict, of course, because my mom's renting me fucking Dawn of the Dead, right? Yeah. So the reins would lightened a little bit. But during that Satanic Panic, it affected my mother. And, because she would go in my bedroom and she'd see the fucking Necronomicon on my desk that I bought from the mall, right?
I'm not a books. Yeah.
I'm not a Satanist, but I was interested in that. You'd see the Fangora on the ground, in the comic books, the Stephen King novels. So she got freaked out. She's like, I don't want Eric to become possessed by the devil. So we need to start throwing away the Stephen King books. So there was a period for a couple of years where I really had to hide the stuff that I was that I was ingesting, the horror that I was, my horror intake. It was all, under the radar and secretive, and I'd have to sneak watch, the new werewolf TV series on Fox that came out in 87. I would have to sneak videotape that and watch it later at night. But of course, we got past the Satanic Panic and I turned 18. I'm like, now I can do what I want. But yeah, I never grew out of this, and I don't think I ever will. I think that this genre keeps people like you and I, Sean, young at heart. It keeps
maybe too young.
I still feel like I'm that 12-year-old watching The Howling, Sean. Like I get that thrill, Am I scared at night? No. I sleep like a baby after watching The Exorcist. It doesn't bother me. But I love the ritual of it.
Same.
It's like an addict where they no longer get high off this shit. It's the pursuit of it that is what keeps them chasing it. Yes.
So good. I just had a moment where I'm the dog who caught the car. You find that movie. Last year was Oddity for me. This year it's this movie with John Lithgow called I just reviewed it for Macabre Daily, The Rule of Jenny Penn. And it's so damn good. And we get a couple of gems per year, and then we get like a good groundwork of maybe like a dozen films that you're like, man, that was time well spent. And look, we consider ourselves lucky. So let me ask you this. Are there any guests that you'd like to have on? Maybe we could put that out there. I mean, are there any
Stephen King?
All right.
Okay. I posted a link once, or not a link, but a story on Instagram once. I don't know if you've ever seen the SNL skit with Chris Farley where he's interviewing famous people.
Remember that time? That was
he's like, he's the one skit where he's interviewing Paul McCartney. He's like, do you remember that time you was in the Beatles? That was really cool. That's gonna be me if Stephen King ever comes on Cradle to the Grave. Like, hey Stephen, you remember when you wrote The Shining? That was really cool, man.
Look, this is catnip for Stephen King. You've had Neil McRobert on Cradle to the Grave. I know you have, right?
Not yet. He's coming on.
Oh, good. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Neil got Stephen King for Talking Scared. That's And then look, this is going to be on Macabre Daily, and I'm going to tag Stephen King, and he's going to.
Do it.
But at least we're going to give it a good old try. All right.
Yeah, man. I mean, I still got my paperback edition that I hid from my mom of
That
Salem's
cover
Lot.
scared the hell out of me growing up.
Look how well used. I've read. This is the Stephen King book I've read the most. Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot is by far my favorite Stephen King book.
Nice.
And one of my favorite horror movies, the Tobe Hooper 1979 made for TV movie. That's up there in the top 5 for me of all
Danny
time.
Glick at the window, man.
All time, dude. Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, man. Like, so I have 2 daughters, and have exposed them to the horror world, right? Like, and they're big horror fans. Me and my youngest just went to go see The Monkey last week. And when I say youngest, she's 18, so it's not like I'm taking an 11-year-old to go see The Monkey, right?
Which we probably do anyway.
But I let her watch Salem's Lot a couple years back. And I don't know if it scared her as much as it scared me when I was her age. Like, I think it might be a little dated for modern audiences.
They're tough for kids these days, that's for sure.
Yeah. But I don't know. Those scenes are iconic, though. Danny Glick at the window, I mean, has influenced. It's still influencing directors to this day.
All right, let's play this out. You get Stephen. Oh, well, let's not even do theoretical. When we get Stephen King to be on Cradle to the Grave, what movie? Yeah. What movie would you?
I'd let him pick.
All right.
Like, hey, Stephen, which one you want to talk about, man? Yeah, no, I mean, we don't even have to talk about a movie. I'll just stare at him for 20 minutes.
Oh, I was just going to say, you filthy liar. Like, you would set the Zoom to 30 minutes. That damn thing was 30 hours.
I do want to mention, you mentioned I have a semi-regular co-host, Stephen Bissett, who's been on so many episodes. He started off just as a guest because I've been a fan of Bissett from the 80s when I was reading the Swamp Thing comic book that he drew, Alan Moore wrote, John Totleben did the ink. It's one of the best horror comics, if not the best horror comic ever produced. And that run that he and Alan and John did is legendary. So, and I grew up reading that shit. So one day, I bought the Count Yorga box set from Arrow Video,
dude.
which is an amazing box set. And I'm checking out the special features. I'm like, oh, audio commentary by Stephen Bissett. I love Stephen. Let's listen to it. So, of course it's awesome. I'm loving it. I'm like, what if I reach out to Stephen Bissett and ask if he wants to come on my show? Sure enough, he came on. I did like a 2-part interview with him a couple years back. And then after that, I'm like, Stephen, you're always welcome to come. He's like, yeah, I'll come back and talk movies. And since then, I mean, every other week he's been on, and now he's like a regular co-host. And if you want to know about horror movies, he's the guy to talk to. I mean, he is an encyclopedia.
I know it's a cliche, but he really is a walking encyclopedia of horror knowledge, but not even horror knowledge. We were joking around when we were, it won't be out for a couple months, but we did Deep Rising. I don't know how, we got on The Mummy, and I was like, we need Stephen Bissett to tell us a little bit about like the history of the sarcophagus.
Oh man.
And he'll be like, oh yeah, sure guys. It started,
Yeah. So, and again, I wouldn't have never met Stephen Bissett if it wasn't for this podcast. So that's why I love this shit, man. I'm meeting really cool people. I'm meeting some of my heroes. I have a lot of comic book professionals come on. I'm a huge comic book fan going back, to the 80s. I've had Kelly Jones, Matt Wagner, Rodney Barnes. I mean, the list goes on. And
incredible, man.
It's been like, I can't wait to talk to them. This is going to be cool. So,
all right, we're just about to run out of time, so please, will you self-promote for once? Where can people find Cradle to the Grave, and where can people find you on Instagram?
Oh man, so yeah, if you go to your Google search, if you don't have Google, whatever you use, I don't know, was there another search engine out there that I'm aware of?
Did I mention we have a minute left?
Okay. Google Cradle to the Grave podcast. Boom. First thing that comes up is that. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. wherever you get your podcast.
Nice.
Instagram, it's Cradle to the Grave Pod, and the word two is the number two.
Number
So
two.
that's how you find it, man. Yeah.
Eric, you are honestly one of the nicest people I've ever met. You're rad as fuck, and
Oh,
I
dude.
always enjoy talking to you.
Man, I really appreciate this, Sean. Thank you.
I just want more people to hang out with you. You know, that's all I want. So this was a blast, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, this was super fun, man. Thank you so much.
You got it, brother. I'll see you soon. Take care.
All right, man. Take care. Bye.